I stand here before you a changed woman. When I entered Mills College as a graduate student in educational leadership 2 years ago. At the time, I didn't realize it, but I was completely broken. I ended up here in this oasis to find my way and to meet people that could heal me. I'm a teacher. The work of teaching has broken me. And my anger towards a system that seems to have forsaken so many, both teachers and students, has become overwhelming. The year I started Mills, I had also started teaching at San Quentin State Prison, which is a maximum security prison just north of here. Interestingly, Mills and San Quentin were actually built the same year, and both have contributed significantly to my transformation. The first year I was at Mills, I would drive from San Quentin with all its brutality to Mills, where I would find to make sense of my experience. Sometimes in life, by giving to others what we need the most, we create that very thing in our own lives. For me, was a new understanding of why I was an educator. And working at the prison and attending Mills has given me that. Before I started working at San Quentin, I really thought that I was an educated and informed person, but I am not. I was not. I have bared witness of a system that is killing the spirit of thousands of people, and that has deposited a lump in my throat. Tears hung heavy on the inside of my eyes, waiting to break free. Before taking the job at San Quentin, I never thought much about educating the incarcerated. However, in this country, 2.5 million people are incarcerated each year. We spend $45,000 a year to incarcerate one person, but we only spend $8,000 a year for public school students. We are stealing the future of our children. We are allowing the misery of thousands to go uncontested. I have been teaching for almost 20 years, most recently working with students in the Bay Area that have failed by our educational system. I've always felt that I could make a difference through teaching. I could point my students in the direction, a path to overcome the oppression the world has built around them, and remove the walls and barriers that surrounded them. It was working at San Quentin that showed me the connection between education and a failed system. Each of the men I teach has a story. When I first started at San Quentin, the stories were hard to listen to, full of abuse, neglect, and failure of an educational system. But then, my professor, Diane Patel, who I have to say I'm honored to have been her student, came and visited me at San Quentin. And I thought she was being very nice to me, but she ended up staying and working with me. And we both teach a class now called Write Your Life, where inmates have the opportunity to write stories from their lives. The experience of watching Diane in prison, teaching, listening to the inmate stories has helped me break through the barbed wire and the concrete that once surrounded my heart. It has helped me to come to value all stories, and all of us have to tell, and to understand that all stories matter. It also has helped me to rediscover why I'm an educator, and it has healed me. I am a Punjabi Sikh. When the British left in 1947, they split Punjab in half, and Pakistan was born. While many Indians, hundreds and thousands, were left dead. My mother, Bachurn, escaped with three of my uncles and 3 of my aunties and my grandparents, leaving Lahore behind in a furniture-packed back of a steam truck. Life became hard, and a few years later, my grandfather died. My mother was only 16 years old. My grandmother was uneducated, but she was a very smart woman. 4 young women and a single mother in India were more than difficult. But the courage and strength of these women gave me my life. My father, Sufi, came from India in the 1950s. He endured racism that I can only imagine, the kind of racism that is practiced openly and brutally. He left India with only an airline ticket and $52. And today I still don't know how he got the money to pay for that ticket. Looking back, I see the jobs my father took were jobs that most people considered beneath them. But he did them proudly and lovingly for the family. My dad returned to India, married my mother in an arranged marriage, and the next month my parents were in Canada. But there was no welcoming party for my parents, only a dream for their children. My brother Ranjit and Kamarjeet and I were born, and my mother took care of us, loved us. She completed her degree at the University of Michigan, and my father his at McGill University. By my parents' actions set forth my life in motion. They took the racism and tried to pack it away from me. They meant to do this to protect me, but soon this world revealed itself to me. In fact, when I was in high school, my counselor told me that I should go to vocational school, that university was not something I could do. I remember my mother grabbing me, heading down to the school, and told the woman never to counsel her daughter ever again. This story is burned into my memory. My father never let me forget that I was Punjabi or Sikh, even though this world pulled me into total assimilation. I am what I am because my parents were strong and courageous. After 9/11 and Sikh Americans were discriminated against out of ignorance, my family remained strong and unflinching. These are some of my stories. This is my story. And all of our stories are important. When I started at Mills in August of 2007, I remember talking to Diane. In fact, I actually told her that I don't think this school is for me. Somehow I couldn't see my brokenness connected to this beautiful school. Diane, thankfully, was not going to let me leave. And I suppose I didn't really want to leave. Instead, she embraced me, encouraged me to tell my stories. Each story I wrote unraveled and exposed the pain I was experiencing and had experienced, and helped me to open up and hear the stories of others. The stories I can now hear give me hope and encourage me to stay in education and do the work that I do. The stories of my students still swirl in my head, of pain, of abuse, of trauma, of abandonment. Before I understood the power of my own stories in relationship to others' pain of my life experiences weighted me down. Being in the educational leadership program has allowed me to tell my story, and to let some of my stories be externalized, to be released, to be heard, to have witness, and to find some meaning with them. Through my studies at Mills and my work at the prison, I have learned we are all better than the worst thing that we have ever done. Any one of us can lose direction from time to time. Trying to find meaning in our lives is not always easy, though stories we have collected at prison, I have learned that making meaning from our life experiences is not just something that needs to occur for the privileged or graduate students. It also needs to happen to maximum security prisoners, where their stories, their experiences have meaning. I believe in rehabilitation. Although I do not believe that writing one's life is all that's necessary, it is a start. In the prison, our students are bank robbers, murderers, drug dealers, but in Write Your Life class, they find voice through story and can push past their convictions. Just as exploring my own stories has set me free, our students are also free through their stories and their new understanding of their lives. So, there are so many of us gathered here today, so that means there are many, many stories here.